What if I told you there was a game that was so mysterious it caused nightmares, seizures, and even deaths, and then it disappeared without a trace? A game that was so addictive that some children were actually stealing money so they could keep playing it. This game caused one of the most intriguing and enduring debates that has ever existed. Some people think it was just an urban legend, but for others, there is clear evidence of its existence, including photographs, gameplay footage, and even discoveries of the physical machine itself. There is much debate about the name of this game. Some people say it was called Cube Quest. Other eyewitnesses say that the game had no name and was simply in an unmarked black machine. In this video though, we will refer to it by its most commonly known name, Polybius. It is rumoured that the game was a secret government experiment that subjected players to auditory entrainment, subliminal messaging, and strobe lighting, and these effects were used to impact the player's brain and alter their perception. The goal of the game, from the government's point of view, was mind control. Polybius machines were installed in arcades across the USA to see whether players' minds could be controlled as a result of them playing the game. Now, this may sound far-fetched, but in 2006, it was actually proven that it is possible for a video game to hypnotize the person playing it. So how is that achieved? It's said that Polybius used REM imprinting, gameplay amnesia, and operant paradigm triggers to cause severe paranoia, anxiety, and stress. This creates a brain that is highly suggestible and open to manipulation and persuasion. Now, if this was all just an urban legend, the big question remains: how is there so much evidence of its existence? Was it a government cover-up involving the Men in Black, as some suggest, or is it all just a conspiracy theory with no solid evidence? In this video, we're going to take a look at the mystery from all angles. Firstly, the name Polybius has significance. It is the name of a Greek historian who was born in Arcadia and lived around 150 BC. He was known for being highly analytical and logical, and he even created his own cryptogram, which he called the Polybius Square. Conspiracy theorists point to this as being a typical hiding in plain sight tactic used by governments, with Polybius of Arcadia being more than a mere coincidence. The arcade game Polybius started to appear in arcades in Portland, Oregon in 1981. Very few arcades had the game, and those that did reportedly had strange men in suits watching the game at all times. Arcade workers reported that the men would also take data from the machine without having any interest in the quarters it had collected. These strange men are how the Men in Black connection was made with the game. The gameplay itself contained hypnotic graphics. Some of the side effects included hallucinations and seizures, which is why I can't show all of the alleged gameplay in this video. Other side effects included memory loss and even total mental breakdowns. The government making a video game to experiment with mind control may sound outlandish. However, just 17 years before the Polybius machines appeared, the government experiment MK Ultra was reaching its conclusion. This program subjected unwilling US citizens to brainwashing and psychological torture, and it was run by the CIA. It is well documented online if you want to know more, but if the government are capable of something as shocking as MK Ultra, why not Polybius too? These strange men watching people play Polybius were supposedly both guarding the machine and taking notes and data. This was to see whether or not the gameplay was having the desired effect on its players. However, the mental anguish and disturbing side effects were much greater than expected. As such, the game was getting too much attention, and the government were concerned that they would be caught out. It is suggested that this is why the Polybius machines were so quickly removed from all the arcades. Within just weeks, the Polybius machines were added to arcades, played extensively, and then they suddenly vanished. Eyewitnesses also claimed that the men in suits were not seen in the arcades again after this time. This left players bewildered. Their new favourite game that they felt compelled to keep playing was no longer there. After searching other arcades, Polybius was nowhere to be found. Asking questions of the arcade workers just caused more frustration, as none of them admitted having ever heard of the game. Left with no other option, players took to the internet to report their confusion and seek answers. In 1998, we have what is believed to be the first article about Polybius, which can be found on coinop.org. This article also contained what is said to potentially be the only authentic image of the game, if it does exist. This is because the article's poster claimed to have the ROM file of the game, but more on the ROM file later. However, this image would not be difficult to create if it were a hoax. After that, not much was said about Polybius until 2011, when video game historian Kat Despira wrote an article called Reinvestigating Polybius. She gave it that title because she assumed it had been investigated before, since it dated back to 1981. However, she later learned that no one had ever written an article about it. This seems strange for a game that received so much online attention and discussion. Controversy around the game continued to grow, and then in 2006, a man named Stephen Roach posted a manifesto on coinup.org claiming to have actually worked on the original Polybius. Roach said that he was a programmer based in the Czech Republic who co-founded a company called Sinneschlossen in 1978. Interestingly, the word Sinneschlossen translates to mean delete senses. He claims that in 1980 they were approached by a South American company to develop an innovative arcade game with a puzzle element and advanced graphics for the time. This game was called Polybius. Only 7 machines were ever made, but after a 13-year-old boy in Portland, Oregon suffered an epileptic seizure while playing, production was stopped. The company Sinneschlossen was then disbanded a short time after. Roach's claims have never been able to be verified, and many think that he is just a fraud. However, his claims were made long after the original post, so if it is just a hoax, he couldn't have been the one who started it. So what about the alleged photographs and even video footage of Polybius machines and gameplay? Well, most of these have been debunked or are very grainy and poor quality. To date, there has been no solid evidence of a Polybius machine or any confirmed gameplay. Further to that, every video game has a ROM file. This is a computer file that contains the exact data of a video game and allows users to play older games on modern machines. No ROM file for Polybius has ever been found, although people do point out that it could have been destroyed, lost, or simply kept locked away by the game's creators if they wanted to keep it secret. We know that at the time, the arcade company Atari did create test games that would be in unmarked black arcade machines. We also know that people did die as a result of playing certain video games, and that the FBI did in fact raid arcades during the 80s. This is on record as being due to illegal gambling being conducted inside certain shady arcades. Whilst all of this, in conjunction with the MKUltra project, points to the existence of a game like Polybius being possible, there has never been any concrete evidence. Despite that, in the minds of many, Polybius is 100% real. But what do you think? Maybe Polybius is simply a myth born out of societal fears at the time. Video games were new technology back then, and there were fears around children playing them too much. Parents were concerned about their addictive nature and stories of them causing aggression. These fears were heightened when reports of video game-related deaths started to surface. Further to that, the arcades themselves were not a nice environment for children. Either way, if you research Polybius online, it certainly takes you down a rabbit hole. It has even been suggested that the original coin-op post was actually a coded message that, if deciphered, leads to an unsettling truth about Polybius. On top of that, you will find people who are absolutely adamant they played the original game. Some people even report a sense of dread, feeling anxiety, and having nightmares, all caused by simply thinking about the time that they played Polybius. Something about the Polybius story really draws people in. Ironically, the Polybius story causes some people to become addicted to knowing more about it, and even makes them feel paranoid, the same alleged side effects that the Polybius machine was said to have on its players. Such is the widespread appeal of the game that it even appeared in an episode of The Simpsons. It also had an episode of the show Dimension 404 entirely dedicated to it. Modern remakes of Polybius have been created, and it's even available for purchase on Steam. Fans have also made replica machines and miniature models of the supposed original. Fact or fiction, Polybius has touched many people deeply and still causes great debate to this day. A game called Polybius that was installed in arcades in the 80s to control the minds of its players probably never existed. It's possible that it did, and the government just covered their tracks very well. Remember, the story goes that these machines were only in 1 or 2 arcades for just a few weeks. This means that there wouldn't have been loads of people who ever saw or played Polybius. It also explains why the game doesn't appear in any arcade game magazines published at the time. It's more likely that a combination of similar stories and urban legends were combined to create the Polybius folklore. During a time when arcades were dark, shady environments that conducted many illegal activities, it's not surprising that the FBI were intervening. Couple this with emerging fears around video game addiction and other mental health side effects, and it's easy to see how a story like Polybius could be created. Either way, it's a truly captivating story, and one that has endured for over 40 years now. Do you think there's any truth to the legend, or is it just a great story? Thanks for watching.